Mr. Poilievre, 5 minutes, please.
Yes or no question, Mr. Chair. Prime Minister, you twice were found guilty of breaking the Ethics Act. After those two convictions, did you decide to read the Act?
You got 14 seconds, Prime Minister.
Yes, I have read the Act a number of times.
Are you aware of Section 21?
Yes, since I've read the Act, I'm aware of Section 21.
What does it say?
I can pull it up for you, but if you have it in front of you, you can remind me which.
Well, it says a
number
public
that is.
office holder of which you are one shall recuse himself or herself from any discussion, decision, debate, or vote in any matter in which, in respect of which he or she would be in a conflict of interest. Now, what you've admitted today is not just that you were in a conflict of interest, but that you consciously recognized in your May cabinet meeting that such a conflict might exist, that it didn't just slide by your desk, that you were consciously aware that there was an inappropriate link to your family that would put you in a conflict. Why did you, at that moment, not call the ethics commissioner and recuse yourself?
That is simply not true, Mr. Poilievre. The issue of advancing issues for one's own family. And by the way, the ethics commissioner is looking into this right now, and I fully trust his judgment on determining it. But at the same time, my concern around recusing myself was a question around perceptions, because I knew full well that this Canada Summer Students Grant Program was not going to directly benefit my mother or my brother.
Your 16 seconds are up. Your 16 seconds are up. I'm going to ask you again, because nobody believes you when you say you don't know how much money your family has got from the We Group. So you've had a month to look into that. You knew you were going to testify here. Again, how much money total have your brother, mother, and spouse received from this organization? How much?
That information has been publicly shared, but I will highlight.
Well, then tell me what it is.
My mother
how much?
has
just the dollar figure
throughout her life.
The dollar figure, Prime Minister.
Various ways, and is proud
how much
of the work that she's done, and I'm proud of her.
How
as
much?
Well.
I'm looking for a dollar figure.
We can get that number for you if you like. It's been out in the media.
It's been in the media, but you don't know it?
I don't have it in front of me, and quite
you
frankly,
don't know how much your family has received from this organization, which you tried to give $500 million. Really?
Can I answer, Mr. Poilievre?
I'm waiting. You haven't done an answer so far. Let's make this the first one.
My mother has worked as an advocate.
The dollar figure, Prime Minister.
Speaker for
how much?
Many good organizations across the country.
Mr. Prime Minister, you are being asked a direct question at a parliamentary committee.
To support her because she does her own work, and I'm proud of the work
Point of order.
But I do not feel that it is my responsibility to peer into the work my mother is doing, because I have
point of order to suspend.
That she's doing.
Point of order to suspend,
please. I've come to learn that the chairperson's power has gone out and is no longer part of this meeting. May I propose that we?
It's okay. We can keep. Prime Minister and I can continue talking.
No.
I suspected that might be a problem. It's very convenient timing for the lights to go out.
Look, I got a message to the effect that his power has gone out. I have no reason to distrust him.
I hope you don't pull the fire alarm now.
Yeah, well, look, there's no intent in my own private home here in the middle of a pandemic. I don't have a fire alarm.
I propose the general process is that the vice chair assumes the chairing of the meeting. So we'll continue.
And that would be me. So we'll continue the meeting. And I now give the floor to the member for Carleton. Mr. Prime Minister, you have. I'm going to ask you one last time. How much did your family get from this organization? How much?
Have you read the Conflict of Interest Act, Mr.
Yes,
Poilievre?
I have.
How does it define family?
I'm asking you.
How does it
I'm
define,
asking
how
you.
does it define
I'm asking
family?
you how much your family got.
The Conflict of Interest Act defines family as spouse and direct
Okay.
dependents.
Point
And
of
I can
order.
say
You're not
that
going to
this
answer that
family
question.
has
Chair.
not received
Point of
You're not,
order.
so you're not going to
money
answer the question
paid,
then.
From
So you're not going to answer the question about how much your family received. Okay,
my
you're right.
wife has
Hold it,
not
gentlemen,
received
if
any
you,
payment for
Mr.
working with we, and it was cleared
Mr.
by
Prime
the Ethics
Minister?
Commissioner ahead of time.
Okay.
Mr.
Point of order,
Poilievre,
can I welcome
Mr.
back Wayne Easter? Can I welcome back Wayne Easter, a man we've deeply missed? Come on, Wayne, where have you been? Were you out getting a coffee?
Look,
I had
you
things
know,
under
it wouldn't
control
be-
for you while you were gone.
I
God help
imagine
us,
that,
Wayne.
Pierre, it wouldn't be the first time you tried to put my lights out, and that's exactly what happened, Pierre. We got a thunderstorm here. Anyway, where will you're well into your 5 minutes, but go with one last question.
Mr. Trudeau, I'm going to conclude by asking you, you claim that you have no knowledge of the amount that has been paid in expenses to your spouse. You correctly pointed out that the Act defines family as including a spouse. Therefore, you know you're under investigation regarding the Act. I'm going to ask you again, how much in total, and I'm looking for a dollar figure here, sir, how much did your spouse receive in reimbursed expenses or other benefits from this organization? How much?
Your
Mr. Prime
original
Minister.
question, Mr. Poilievre, was how much was my immediate family?
I asked you a
my
different
family
question now.
paid for
How much?
the work
Mr.
with me?
Poilievre, the
My
Prime
mother-
Minister has the floor.
My wife has never been paid since I was Prime Minister.
Reimbursed
by
for
we.
expenses.
Mr.
How much?
Poilievre, Mr. Poilievre, could we please have order? We'll allow the Prime Minister to answer the question, and then we'll move on to Ms. Zerowitz. Sorry, Julie. Mr. Prime Minister, you have about 30 seconds here.
The Ethics Commissioner has fully cleared my wife to continue her advocacy and her work with We Charity and other organizations.
How much?
In the kind of work that she's been doing all her life.
Just the
Except
dollar
she's
figure.
doing it unpaid for We. She is not being paid by We for her advocacy or for her podcasts. They are simply reimbursing her
Expenses.
for expenses.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister and Mr. Poilievre, and I'm sorry for leaving the line.
We will make America great again.